so that we can share it with members who can't join us today. I'd like to give a special welcome to our LHSA members from outside the United States. Thank you, Alan, for asking for the origin in the chat window. I'd like to welcome our members from Uruguay, Norway, Belgium, Canada, Berlin, Israel, the UK, another Canada, Philippines, another UK, Israel, and lots of guests from around the world, Oman, Switzerland. Thank you so much for joining us. It's our pleasure to have you. And you know, nearly 50% of our members, just under 50% of our members, are from outside the United States. And it's a big reason we are the International Leica Society, and it's just incredible that you're all here. And we welcome you and look forward to entertaining you a bit today with this webinar. So please type your questions into the chat window. I'll do my best to get to those questions. I'd like to introduce myself to begin. I'm Brad Husick. I'm on the LHSA Board of Directors and love shooting with Leica cameras of all flavors and types. I just want to mention that the LHSA is a nonprofit organization. None of us are compensated for our work. It's completely volunteer, and we're supported through the generosity of our members and our sponsors, and that's how we exist. So I want to thank my fellow members and board members for generously giving their time to help support this wonderful organization. So I'd like to begin with some introductory remarks. For 50 years and counting, the International Leica Society continues to be a meeting place for Leica users as well as collectors, and greatly contributes to preserving the rich history of Leica cameras and gear that we all know and we all love. Because of support from members like you, we were able to publish our acclaimed Viewfinder quarterly publication, our journal, extending enriching photographic education programs like this one, offering our Ask the Expert series through the LHSA website, and supporting emerging photographers through our philanthropy fund and the LHSA Photography Grant. Our generous sponsors today help make this series possible, and we want to give our heartfelt thanks to our two series sponsors for this Lightroom series. First is Westbourne Camera, a wonderful place to buy and sell your Leica gear and other gear as well. And Leica Store San Francisco, who has generously supported this program, and Sean Craner, who has been a big supporter of LHSA throughout the years. So thank you both to Westbourne Camera and to Leica Store San Francisco. In addition to our sponsors, I'd like to ask for your help too. If you've enjoyed this series, or if you do enjoy today, if you've missed the others, and you'd like to make a small donation to help us offset the cost of putting on these webinars and paying for our Zoom, Premier Zoom membership, even $10 can make a difference. And the easiest way to support us is with a text message. You can send Give to LHSA, that's GIVETO LHSA, to the number 44321. I'll give you that again. It's Give to LHSA at 44321. And I want to thank the hundreds and hundreds of people who have helped us through that text message in the past few weeks. And I hope that what we provide for you is inspiring enough that you'll choose to give us a gift through that mechanism. If you would prefer to use PayPal or another method, you can go to the LHSA website, and there's a give link at the LHSA website. So let's see. I want to mention there's still time to enter our incredible sweepstakes to win a Leica M10 monochrome camera, a brand new in the box Leica M10 monochrome, which are incredibly hard to get these days. So if you go to the LHSA website, you can see a link to enter the sweepstakes. There's no purchase necessary, but if you buy tickets, obviously you get entries. And we're looking forward to giving away this $8,000 plus Leica monochrome coming up in the next couple months. So there's still time to enter. You can't win if you don't enter. So go ahead and do that. And another way you can support our community is to ask your friends to become members of LHSA as well. And last but not least, if you're not already, we invite you to connect with us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. And one of the upcoming webinars, in fact, the next one is going to be on how to use Instagram to publish your photography. And that should be a wonderful webinar coming up in a couple of weeks. You can enter one of your photos in our Fan of the Week contest on Facebook. All you have to do, or on Instagram, all you have to do is upload your photo to Instagram or our Facebook page with the hashtag Leica Society. Hashtag Leica Society, and you can possibly win our Fan of the Week and have your photograph published widely across social media. So incredible way to get your photos shared. We're really proud of this community that we've built with you. We're grateful that you've chosen to share your time and your Leica journey with us, and for your continued support. And we honestly really appreciate that. Again, if you've missed the prior webinars, they are available. They have been recorded. This one's being recorded, and you'll see those links up on the LHSA website. And with that, I think we're going to get started. So welcome to today's webinar on making photography photo books with Lightroom and Blurb. And this one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to start off with some show and tell and give you some examples of what you can create with Lightroom and Blurb. I've been creating books for more than a decade using Lightroom and Blurb, and I've been really pleased with the results, and I think you will too. We don't get compensated by Adobe or Blurb for this. We just want to share some best practices with you. So when you choose Lightroom and Blurb to make books, you've got several choices of format of book, and I'll give you some examples of books that I've worked on and books that I've helped others create. So I'm going to start with a friend of mine. I hope he's on the webinar. I'm not sure if he is today, but a really talented photographer friend of mine, Armando Linder, went to Burma and Myanmar, and I helped him edit the photos and do what I'm doing today with you to create this this book, Burmese Impressions. And the photographs inside are absolutely stunning. He is an extremely talented photographer. He chose to do one photo per page with blanks on the other side. And I think it turned out beautifully. You might be able to tell this is kind of a pearlescent paper. And that's one of the choices you can make on Lightroom and Blurb, is to choose a pearl paper. I'd like to show you one of the photos that just really stunned me from this book, actually this spread of these fishermen that Armando Linder did. And again, this is a book, more than 100 pages of photographs in this book. And I think the print cost for this book was just around $100, actually. He was generous enough to give me a copy of it as a gift. So thank you, Armando, for that. That's one of the formats you can make. Another format you can make, the largest format that you can make now with Blurb is this format. And these are my photographs when I was the mission photographer for the first private astronaut in space, Spaceship One, that was sponsored by Paul Allen. And there's a photograph of the astronaut on his return to Earth. But this book is another example of the kind of thing you can do with Blurb, and you can choose the background. In this case, I did black as the background for the Spaceship One book. So that's another example. These are hardbound image wrap or gallery wrap examples, which is my preferred way to do it, rather than, they do offer a dust jacket, a separate dust jacket version. These are a little more durable. I tend to rip unfortunately, dust jackets on books. Another format, here's another book that I did not too long ago on the first ocean cleanup system that was launched out into the Pacific, removing the plastic from the floating garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. And this was the mission to launch the first cleanup system out into the Pacific Ocean. That's the founder there from the Netherlands. And this, I decided to put the launch trajectory of the mission on the back, and included a little story up front. I'm not one for putting a lot of text in my books. I like the photographs to speak for themselves, but Blurb offers you an option to put as much text on pages as you like. So you can do that. Now, this book print cost was probably around $60. And in order to make it more affordable for all the employees of the ocean cleanup, I created a magazine version. And Blurb allows you now to create magazines. And the print quality is really wonderful. So here's a magazine of many of the same photographs of the launch of the first ocean cleanup system. And this magazine came in, I think, around $16 print cost. So all the employees could order their own copy of that. And so another option for you in magazine format, I've done several of these magazines, and they're extremely popular in this format. The print quality of the photographs, to me, in the magazines equals the print quality in the books. And so you're not really compromising. The only thing you lack in the magazines is paper choices. There's really one paper choice, and it's a nice medium weight paper. But you've got a choice there, a less expensive option for you. A couple more examples, and then we'll get to how to do this. I have a lot of photographs of my kids, as you can imagine. And so when my older son turned 18, I collected my favorite photographs of him from the first 18 years of his life and created this giant book of photographs of him and gave it to him as a gift when he went off to university. So these are in chronological order. So something you can potentially do for your incredibly cute children. So that's another use of Blurb. And then finally, my father and grandfather were photographers, and in fact, great-grandfather, so I'm a fourth generation. When my grandfather and father passed away, I inherited their negatives that they had shot on Leica and Rolleiflex cameras and had them all scanned, 11,000 negatives. And my mother met my father when she was 13 years old and he was 15 years old. And my grandfather took a lot of photographs of my mother starting at 13. And I made a book for her. I collected the 100 favorite photographs of my mother and put a book together. She's probably about 16 in this shot. And then she's in her 40s on the back. And these are photographs of her from the earliest days of growing up in Brooklyn, in New York. And most of these are from Rolleiflex twin reflex cameras. But there's photographs of her Sweet 16 party and birthdays and prom and all kinds of stuff. And when I gave this to her, she said that there were photographs in here that she had never seen before in her life. And she told me that this was the most cherished gift that I ever gave her. So I hope you are inspired to do the same for people that you love. So that's an example of what you can do in Blurb. I have friends who say that a photograph isn't really a photograph until it's printed. And a great way to print photographs, if you're not willing to set up the big printers at home, is to try it in Blurb. And the results in black and white are stunning. They're just as good as the color results. So it's a great way to do it. Now I'm going to get into share my screen with you and show you how easy it is to create these in Blurb and in Lightroom. And so you can put any image you want on the covers, by the way. You can change all that around. So let me stop the share of this screen and start the share of Lightroom and show you how to do this. So Here we go. Right, so as you remember from the last webinars, I have a number of photographs in here that we edited together. And I decided that a few of them could go into a book that we make together here today. And I did what I love to do in Lightroom to organize photographs is I created a collection. So I just highlighted a bunch of photographs and I created a collection called Book Photos. And I have 15 photos in this collection that I'm going to make into a book. So here they are in this collection. And it's really as easy to get started as simply going to the top of the screen and choosing the book module from the top, the fourth choice at the top here, and clicking on book with those photographs. Now, as you can see in the film strip on the bottom, there are the 15 photographs. And the little number above the photo is how many times that photo has been used in this book. Now, Lightroom made a bunch of automatic choices for me when it assembled this book. They're not necessarily the choices that I would make in making this book. It automatically made some choices for us. Now, let me explain how and why it does that. So over here in the book settings menu, you have a choice of creating a photo book, a magazine, a trade book, which would be a lower quality, higher volume book, simply outputting a PDF or outputting a JPEG or a series of JPEGs of what a book would look like. You can do the PDF later on, by the way. So in this case, if I'm going to create a book, I would choose photo book. If I want to create that magazine format, I'd choose magazine. And the choices we then have, if we're choosing book, are what size book do we want? So here are the choices in inches and centimeters. The largest book I showed you was that 13 by 11 large landscape book. I also showed you the book of my mom's photos is the large square, 12 inch by 12 inch, 30 centimeter squares. The small book, the book on Myanmar was the standard portrait book. And the small book, I didn't get to show you that, but I have a friend who likes to travel and brings home all kinds of photographs from his travels that he's taken on his iPhone. And I help him put together these small square books so he can give copies to his daughters that he takes on his travels. So every trip they make, we make a small square book and he gives it to his daughter. So in this case, we're going to choose, let's say the standard landscape format, and the page size changes automatically here. You have a choice of what the cover is going to be. So the cover could be the hardcover image wrap. All of the examples I showed you, like the book of my mom's photos, use the hardcover image wrap option. You can also have a hardcover dust jacket. So the book is covered in a paper dust jacket. Or you can create a soft cover book. I've never created a soft cover book, but I imagine it would be something like the magazine format. My preferred format is the hardcover image wrap. It is coated so that it's somewhat water resistant and stain resistant and fingerprint resistant. It's a kind of a luster finish that's on the cover. It's a really nice finish. The paper types you can choose. There are 6 different paper types. Premium luster, premium matte, an uncoated pro paper, a pearl paper that I showed you with the Myanmar photographs, something they call standard, and a standard lay flat option. A lay flat option means that the spine actually opens 180 degrees without creasing. And so if you have a large format and you want it to lay flat and give you a 2-page spread without curling, in other words, laying flat on the page, you can look at the lay flat option. My go-to option is usually the premium luster. I find that it's a really nice paper, nice premium heavyweight paper. And if you're doing purely black and white photographs, you can consider doing the premium matte as well. Most of my books, in fact, almost all of them are the premium luster. The logo page is whether or not on the last page of the book, there's a Blurb logo. And if you allow them to put their tiny little logo in the bottom of the last page, It's not on your photographs, it's on its own page. They discount the price a little bit on the book for you. So if you leave that on, you can see this is by default a $40.99 book. If you turn it off, it's a oh, they've actually increased the price. So it's $10 more if you don't want their logo. I don't mind their small logo. It's never been a problem for me. You can tell at the back here, this page, I'll double click it, that's the logo they put down on the page. Designed using Adobe Photoshop Lightroom with a little blurb. So for me, is it worth $10 to have that included in the back of the book? For me, it is. It's fine to have that. Again, we can go back to looking at all the pages in the book. I'm doing that in the lower left corner here. All the pages, the 2-page spread or a single page. So those are the options there. Estimated price is just that. It's estimated at the time you're creating the book. When you upload it, it gives you an actual price, and it's almost always the same as the estimated. Here's where you get to do some automatic layouts. And if you like one photo per page, that's one of your options. But you can edit these as presets, and it will automatically lay out the book. Or you can go page by page and decide what your layout wants to be. So if, for example, I want this page to have more than one photograph on it, if I click on that page and then I look at the small arrow in the lower right corner, I'll click on that arrow and it gives me a whole bunch of choices now. So if I like one photo per page, I have a lot of options for that. The gray is where the photograph would be, so that's a full bleed. This is a no bleed. And then this is a horizontal bleed with text top and bottom. By the way, you can always add captions to these photographs. I'll show you how to do that. You can have the photograph next to some text on either side. Lots and lots of options for just a single photograph on each page, including some frames as well. Here's one that looks like a film strip. If you want to go to multiple photos, let's say you want to put 4 photos on a page, you've got a lot of options for that as well. So I encourage you to experiment with these and figure out what works for you and what kind of story you're trying to tell with your book. You can also do 2-page spreads. So in the magazine that I created on the launch of the ocean cleanup system, I had a 2-page spread of the Golden Gate Bridge with the system going underneath it. I chose this full bleed for the 2-page spread. And if I click on that, you'll see this photograph. If I wanted to, I could zoom in on the photograph and create something that spanned both pages. Obviously, this isn't the perfect photograph for that. So I'm going to go back to the 1 photo per page here. So lots and lots of choices for laying out each page independently. And you can save those as a preset, which you can then apply here. So again, lots and lots. There's a portfolio, travel, wedding, lots and lots of text. If you want to start your book with some text pages, you can start there. If you want to add a page to the book, for example, you can click on the page, and then if you want to add one prior to that, if we right-click the mouse and say Add Page, it will add the page right after the first one. If that's not what we wanted, if we wanted it before that one, all we have to do is come to the yellow area, pick up the page, and drag it over into position. So you can drag and drop these pages as well, but you can also drag and drop the photographs. So if I want this photograph to take the place of that photograph in the book, I just pick this photograph up and drop it on that photograph, and Lightroom swaps the 2 photos. I'll try that again. If I want this right-hand one to be swapped in position with the left-hand one, just pick up the right photograph and drop it in on the left-hand side, and they swap position. So there's a lot of what you see is what you get, drag and drop going on in the program, which is kind of nice. If you want to add text to this, for example, we said we wanted to, I would go and format that as a text page. So here's a choice for text pages. And if you want, you could have a page like this. This block is for text, this block is for a photograph. If I wanted a picture of the author, I could put it there. And if I wanted to edit this page, I probably don't want to do it in this thumbnail format. I'd prefer to do it in either the 2-page layout down here or the single page. And then I can click on here and just start typing. This is my latest photo book. And you can change each aspect of the text by clicking on that. And I did Command A for select all. And if we come down here on the right-hand side, you'll see there's a text panel and a type panel. So this is what they call it, the type style. So you can choose your font here. I have lots of fonts installed on this computer. Let's say you want Garamond Professional and maybe something in bold and maybe something larger. You can drag the size out here. You can also change the text color. Let's say I want a dark gray color, or maybe something a little bit more colorful, maybe this deep red color. And you can also change the opacity of that text if it overlays anything. So we can fade that text back if we want. So there are lots of controls here for the standard sort of centering or right justifying, whether or not it's centered in the block, whether it's at the bottom of the block or the top of the block. So that is how you add text to a page. If we go to the next photo page, if we wanted to add some page text to that, there's a button here called Add Page Text. That's different from a caption. If we want to add a caption, I believe what we do is add I'm sorry, I did add photo description there. If we want to add a caption, I think we let's see, I'm not doing a lot of captions in mine, so you can tell that I'm a little bit rusty on that. But let's say we want to add that photo text. There's a block for photo text there, and you can say this was taken in White Sands, New Mexico. Obviously, we don't want the word photo text in there. And there we've got our photo caption now. Obviously, that can be centered, and you can change the type style and change the text as well. So that's a really easy way to add the text to the photograph. This is the other block that I added, which you can move on top of it and add text anywhere on top of a photograph, presumably with some opacity as well. So that's one of your options there. You can tell in the automatic layout, it's put any photograph it wants in whatever order I had them added, and that may not be the order I want. So I did show you how to swap two photographs. If instead I want to put my choice of photograph in the place I want it, let's say this page, for example, I want to have this photograph in Paris. I can click on the photo and then press the delete button. It leaves a space for that photograph. If I want, I can come down here to the this index of my photos down here in this film strip, choose the photo I want, and drag it up into place on that page. So the drag and drop from the this light strip is very useful if you have lots of photos to deal with. So you don't want to necessarily go down to the really small thumbnails. It gets really hard to see what you're doing. So it's often a good choice to use this film strip to move your photos. Now, in this book, I now have this photograph in two places, and you can tell that's true with your eye here, but if I had a 100-page book, it might be more difficult. And that's why it has this number 2 on top of the photo down here in the film strip. This photo has been used twice in this book. Likewise, the photo of Iceland, it's on the front cover right now, that's been used in the book twice as well, here on the front cover and here on this page, and perhaps I don't want that. So if I don't have other photos to use, I can delete a page as well. If I click on the page and right-click my mouse, there's a remove page function. That'll remove the page, the photo that's on the page, but it won't take it out of my light strip down here. So that's a good way to remove a page from the book. If I have these two photographs of Paris are similar, or they are the same photograph, and I don't want that page, click on the photograph or click on the page and choose remove page with the right mouse button. I look down in my film strip now and I've got a 1 next to all of these. Oh, there's a 2. Now I've got this photo of these lovely ladies twice in this book. Don't necessarily want that. So I'll go and find that page and I'll remove that page. And I've got a couple of photographs here where there's an exclamation point. By the way, before I explain the exclamation point, I now have ones next to all the photos in this book except one. So there is a photo here of some grapes that are not yet used in this book. And that's something you want to check when you're making these books is what photograph did I want to use that's not in there yet. I can insert a page anywhere I like. Let's say I just want to do it at the end of the book. I can add a page and then go to the film strip, pick up that page, that picture and drop it in. Now you see it cropped automatically. So often what you need to do is zoom back out to see the entire photo. I just clicked once on the photograph and it was going to fit to the page. You can zoom to any level you like, but it was going to fit to the page, but I want the whole photograph, so I choose zoom 0%. Well, we're getting close here, but we've got an exclamation point here. And what the exclamation point means is this photo printed on this size book will print at 164 pixels per inch, and the minimum recommended resolution is 200 pixels per inch. So it's just a small JPEG that I had in the library. Actually, at 164 ppi, it'll print just fine. You can go down to about 140 ppi, and it will still look really nice in the book. They recommend something around 200 ppi. So that's what the warning indication is on these photographs. By the way, I have this photograph in here twice, so we don't want that. I'll remove this page. Okay, it's starting to look pretty good, but I think what I want to do is add, first of all, change the background color. I don't really like the pure white. So here I go over to background on the right-hand side. I do want to apply this globally, and I want to choose not a graphic to put behind it, but a background color. And if we click on the white rectangle, it gives us choices for the background color. It can be a color as well as a shade of gray. I often like to use a darker shade of gray to allow the photos to stand out on their own. So just by clicking on these, you can change the background color of these pages. Looking better, okay. This text in red is probably no longer what I want. So I'm going to go back here and change that back to white text. And it's not pure white because I have the opacity down under 100%. If I wanted pure white, I could put the opacity back to 100. Another thing you can do is add a spine and add text to the spine. And the best way to see that is in the 2-page layout, and go back to the beginning. Here is the spine of the book. You can add text to the spine here. You can change the background color. If you want the background of this to have some text in it, there isn't a super easy way to see what you're typing while you're doing it. So I just recommend that you carefully type in, I'm going to type in my travel photos. It's very small on my screen as well as yours. But if I type that in and then I select all, I can then change the size of that text and change the alignment of the text to center align those. I can change the typeface, and I can change the color if I wanted white text on a darker background, for example. now I've got text on the spine of the book. So that's how you add text to the spine. Now I have another warning here on this page. This one, because it's on the cover, it's as large as possible. This one's going to print at 103 ppi, and I recommend not doing that. 140 is a practical minimum. So what you should do is go back to the original photo and choose the higher resolution version of that photo to add in the book. And so you can just go back to your library and add that to your collection, and then go back to the book module and replace that photo with the larger version of that photo to give the book the best chance of looking great when it's printed. The other thing you could do on this photograph is change the zoom level. If you don't want a full bleed on the background, it's scaling just a bit. If I come back and allow borders on that photograph, you'll see it's not 103 anymore, it's 119. Still not good enough. I'd recommend going back to the original photos. So that is an overview of how to create a photo book in Lightroom. If you have extra blank pages, by the way, you want to have an even number of pages in the book. It will tell you that if you don't. It's natural, that's the way that these photographs are printed. So that's the way books are printed. And if you want to add extra pages, again, you can right click and add a page or add a blank page. If you don't have enough pages in the book, you can do it that way. The light gray pages at the beginning and the end are the inside covers of the book, and you can change the color of those as well if you like. So now we've got a book that we might want to print, and so we can now take the next step. Let's see if there's anything I left out here. By the way, you can show all kinds of guidelines and cells, and you can spend a lot of time doing layout in these options here. There was the background. And then the final step is to send this book to Blurb online. And when you do that, it compiles all the files necessary and uploads those files to Blurb. If you want to walk away from this and come back, you can certainly do that. When you quit Lightroom, it doesn't require you to save. When you come back, the book will be here in the book tab. But if you have several versions that you want to work on or other books, you can create a saved book up in the upper right-hand corner here, and it will save the book here, and you can retrieve it from the list of books that will be over on the left-hand side. So you can save multiple copies. Be careful with the clear book option. That will remove everything, all the work you've just done. And if you want to now export this as a PDF, for example, on the lower left-hand corner here, there's an export book to PDF. This doesn't have anything to do with Blurb. This is Lightroom itself creating a PDF. It will actually create two PDFs. One of those will be the front cover, front and back cover in a single PDF. And then it will create another PDF with the rest of the pages. So it's actually two PDFs. If you choose to send that to somebody, it will be two different PDFs. It will not look like a book per se, because you're opening two different PDFs, and you'll see the front and rear cover and spine at the same time. When you send the book to Blurb, it puts it in your account, and I'll show you what that looks like here by changing my share over to this window. And here I am in Blurb, and this is my dashboard of books that I've done over the years, actually, and when they were created, and how many pages are in each, for example. The book of my mom's photographs that I showed you earlier. Let me actually make this window a little bit wider so we can see. Let's go down. Here's my mom's photos. So this book is 24 pages. It's the 12 by 12 format, or 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter. And if you want to take a look at that and preview it, all you have to do is click on the book, and you can tell in this hardcover edition of 24 pages at that size, the current price of that book is $67. That's the price to you for printing that book, plus shipping and tax where applicable. If you want to sell this book to other people, Blurb allows you to do that by publishing your book and adding whatever profit margin you choose on that book. In this case, this is just the base price of the book to print. If you click the preview button, it gives you a nice preview, either this size or even larger as a full screen, but actually don't want to do that way. And when you roll your mouse over it, it says, oh, I can open this book. You can actually click on the book and begin turning pages, which I think is a really nice feature that Blurb offers, to give you a preview of the book. And this is generated when you upload your book, and gives you a full preview of all the pages in that book. So coming back from that, sorry, we can come back to this. You can publish this book for sale. If I go back to my dashboard, the magazine of the launch is available to order, and you can here edit the list price of this if you do want to make a profit on what you're creating, and you can add your own text about it and so forth. To order the book, you just basically add it to your cart. It gives you the checkout window. It takes roughly 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how busy Blurb is, to create a book, and roughly, in the United States at least, another 4 to 7 days to receive it using the basic shipping method. You can pay for premium shipping, obviously, but there's still a production time of 1 to 2 weeks as they assemble your book and put it together. So that's an overview of putting together magazines in Blurb. I'm going to come back out of the share now and see if I can answer some of your questions that you've typed into the chat window. And so let's start with those. By the way, these books are very durable. I haven't found any fading at all in them. They hold up really well. I have books that I've done more than a decade ago that still look like they were printed this week. So let's see. I'm going to look in your chat window here and see if I can answer some of your questions. By the way, welcome again, all of you who are from outside the United States. It's amazing to see you all here. Let's see. Well, Eric says that he received a magazine yesterday that he did from his recent trip to Cuba. So that's great. Magazines are a really inexpensive way to share your photographs with people, and believe me, they appreciate it. It's nice to see a printed photograph rather than something on a screen. Let's see. How does Blurb come out in black and white compared to Hahnemühle Barita paper quality? Well, it's not as good as Hahnemühle Barita in terms of the paper quality. I would say in terms of the image quality, it's really, really good. So I don't worry too much about the image quality. They come out really spectacular. The paper will not be as high quality as a Hahnemühle Barita. It's not a Barita is especially white. It's got a very, very high reflective index. And so it's not going to be as white as a Barita, but it's going to be pretty close. You don't have to really worry about color profiles when printing to Blurb. I know some of you have that question. If you have a calibrated monitor, and I encourage all of you to use a calibrator on your monitor, as long as you've got a calibrated monitor and your photos look good to you on screen, they're going to look good when they come out in Blurb. Let's see. Is it possible to have to not have an image on the cover? Absolutely. You do not have to have an image on the cover. The cover can simply contain text, and you can have a background color if that's what you prefer. Can you upload a document to the text page? I have not tried to upload a document, but I have done copy paste, and that works very well. So if you, it's easier to type obviously into a word processing program, and then copy paste into it. Do you usually mix portrait and landscape oriented photos? If so, does it look better to put landscape photos in the portrait format or the other way around, for example, in a magazine format? Good question. So magazine format, by the way, going back to that Ocean Cleanup launch magazine, they only offer portrait in the magazine format. They do not offer landscape in magazine. I've never seen a landscape magazine. So maybe that's a new product option, a product niche. You guys can go create landscape magazines. This is the format. When you do landscape photographs, in this one I chose to do them full bleed, edge to edge. And it also works really well for 2-page spreads. So I mentioned that Bay Bridge photograph of the fireboat going out under the Bay Bridge with the fireboat celebrating it. So that's a 2-page full bleed spread in a magazine. So they look quite nice when they're full bleed in magazine. George says, could I quickly review how to create a collection? I'm going to refer you back to my very first webinar, which covers collections in detail. But basically, if you go to the collections on the left-hand side and you click the plus on the right next to collections, that's where it says create new collection. You can always drag photos into a collection that you've created. How do you change the default font? You can set up a page with the font you like and then save it as a page format, and then apply that format to the rest of the pages. Larry says, not exactly clear how you send the files to Blurb. Going back, there is that lower right-hand button, send book to Blurb. Everything else is automatic. So all you have to do is press send book to Blurb once, and it does all of the work to assemble the photographs, the book, the text, everything you need. And in a matter of minutes, sends you a message through email that says, I've uploaded your book. It's time to give me some more details about it and to print it. And you choose the print number and options on the Blurb website. Question, have you tried any other book publishers? It's been a while since I've tried. I used to print books from iPhoto using Apple's photo service. I don't recall the name of the company they use to print, but I'm not the right person to ask about comparing to other photo book services. I'm sure there are good ones out there. Feel free to share that with your fellow LHSA members as well. Type them into the chat window and share, please, if you have good experience. Are there printing services available everywhere around the world? I believe they ship to most of the world. I believe their production happens here in the US and they do ship to most of the world. Is there a discount if you order a number of copies at the same time? Yes, they offer discounts starting at 10 copies. So if you order a lot of them, I believe you get some discount. It's not a super high discount. So if you order more than 10, I believe it starts with a 5% off discount, something like that. What's the best resolution from Lightroom to maximize the print quality? Do you export your DNG to a JPEG first? It is not necessary to change your files from DNG to JPEG. You want to keep the quality of the photograph above a 140 PPI level. And you know that by clicking on those warning exclamation points in the book. It recommends, I believe it recommends 220 as the minimum necessary. I don't think it's necessary to go any higher than that. Although, if you have photographs that are very large, if you've got your SL2 and you're taking 48 or 47 megapixel photographs, by all means use them. There's no reason other than the upload is going to take a little longer. There's no reason not to use those in the book. You're not going to see a huge difference in quality in the printed book, but there's no reason to do extra work to reduce the resolution of your photos. Do you have to do a lot of work to make sure the photos will be bright enough? I think I covered that earlier. If you have a calibrated monitor, and I can't stress that enough, please get a calibrator or borrow one from a friend. Calibrate that monitor. If it looks good on your calibrated monitor, it's going to look good in the book. There won't be any big surprises. Is there any way to check the image quality in the book before finalizing? No, unfortunately, there isn't a way to really zoom in and see how it will be printed as a printed book, but I believe you'll be quite pleased with the results you get from Blurb. For travel books, is there any easy way to do a map showing your stops and points of interest? I did one of those for Iceland. I didn't bring the Iceland book with me, but as you can see in this book that I did for the ocean cleanup, that was a JPEG that I uploaded. I simply added the JPEG as a photograph in Lightroom and used it as one of the pages in the book. So that's the easiest way to do it, is to just take the map as a JPEG and add it as a photograph in your Lightroom collection. Does Blurb allow or provide varnish on selected photographs? No, I have not seen an option for Blurb to add a top varnish on photographs. If you're interested in something with a little more gloss to it, I'd recommend checking out that pearlescent paper that they offer that I showed on Armando's book of photographs from Myanmar. Is the magazine paper clay-based or normal stock selection? That's an excellent question. I don't know the answer. The paper that they use, to me, feels like a medium to lightweight paper. It's got that sort of a snap to it. It is a semi-gloss paper. You can see from reflections here, it's a semi-gloss. The covers are a thicker cardstock, also semi-gloss. So I'm not sure if it's clay or normal stock. Let's see. Is archival paper available? The papers that they offer, and I mentioned this earlier, I have books that were printed more than a decade ago. I can't see any change in the photographs at all in those books. Now, they're not laid out open in the sunlight 24/7. Obviously, they're closed most of the time, and they're in my climate-controlled home. But I can't see any degradation at all from these. And these are not dye-sub prints. They're actually offset prints. And so I'd be really surprised if there was much degradation over time. Can you have a PDF made of the book for downloading and sharing? Excellent question. Thank you for reminding me. You can either do the PDF from Lightroom, or for, I believe it's $4 and change, Blurb will create a PDF for you that you can share, download, and share. At the same time they print your book, they'll instantly make a PDF that they allow you to download and share with your friends. Let's see. Jim says, Blurb offers a kit of all their papers for $7, and you get a $7 refund on your first order. So thank you for mentioning that, Jim. It's a great way to check out their papers. And they're basically giving it to you for free because you get the discount on the first book. So again, thank you to Jim for that. Can you change the text or font if the first option doesn't look good without changing it on every single page by hand? Yes, you can. You can change individual pages to any font and size and style you like. You can change multiple pages by selecting them, holding down the command key, or you can take a page that you like the format of and save it as a default format that you can apply to other pages in the book. Let's see, Sharon has shared with us that they have 30 to 40% discounts for all quantities, even one print, every few days. If you go to their website or you type into Google, do a Google search on Blurb coupon, you'll often find a discount coupon. Even if you're a repeat customer, you can use many of those coupons. Some of those coupons are for first-time customers only. Especially the 30 or 40% off, but you'll often see coupons if you do a Google search for that. So I think we're almost at the end. We have just a few minutes till the bottom of the hour. If you have more questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. If you need to go back and review what we did today, this recording will be available in a couple of days up on the LHSA website. And I do want to make an appeal. If you enjoyed today's session and you're in a position to do so, please make a small donation to LHSA with the easiest ways to use your cell phone or mobile, and text give to LHSA, GIVETO LHSA to 44321. 44321. Give to LHSA. Even $10 makes a big difference for us. As I mentioned earlier, all of us on the board are volunteers in the organization. No one is in this organization is paid for that work. So I thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to do these last 4 seminars on Lightroom with you, these webinars. I've really enjoyed it. We'll come back and do more. Coming up very soon, we've got a couple of seminars, webinars on using Instagram for your photographs. We've got a coffee clatch coming up that'll be announced pretty soon, which is like a coffee, cameras, and conversation, where informally we'll be able to share with each other, and we'll give you some topics that we can discuss. You'll hear from other people, not just me, and I look forward to joining you again on a webinar over the summer. We're thinking about new ideas, and if you have a desire for certain topics, please let us know. We're thinking about doing one on portrait lighting, using 1 or 2 simple portrait lighting setups. We're thinking about doing one on color management and color calibration. And we could possibly do some on printing as well. So your ideas drive this organization. Please share those with us and let us know what you'd like to see. If you can, again, please give something to give to LHSA at 44321. Thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again soon on one of these. And don't forget, enter the sweepstakes to win a Leica M10 monochrome, $8,295 US value camera. Brand new camera. We've got it in our hands. We're waiting to give it away. Enter the sweepstakes and you can win that camera. If you don't enter, you can't win. Thanks again for joining us. I look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe. Happy shooting, everybody. Take care.